Well, our topics are all about copying and moving a file using copy and move methods. In copying a file, you need two parameters: the source file name and the destination file name. The source file name contains the file to copy, and the destination file name contains the name of the destination file. This cannot be a directory or an existing file, so there are exceptions when copying a file. So, the first exception is when the caller does not have the required permission. The second, the source file name or destination file name is a zero-length string, contains only white space, or contains one or more invalid characters as defined by hyperlink. Or in short, source file name or destination file name specifies a directory. The third one is the source file name or destination file name is a null reference. In short, nothing in Visual Basic. The fourth, the specified path, file name, or both exceed the system-defined maximum length. For example, on Windows-based platforms, paths must be less than 248 characters and file names must be less than 260 characters. The path specified in source file name or destination file name is invalid, such as being on a mapped drive. The sixth one is the source file name was not found, or the destination file name exists. Source file name was not found, and error has occurred. Or source file name or destination file name is an invalid format. Then I don't know how to Then so that is all about copying the file. So let's proceed to moving the file. Sure. I can't really state the syntax because it's quite long. So maybe, you know it already, so there's no need to state the syntax for the copy method. So let's proceed to the move method. So the same as with the copy method, the move method has also have two parameters: the source file name and the destination file name. The type of the source file name is an hyperlink, as well as the destination file name. It's the same. The source file name is the name of the file to move, and the destination file name is the new path for the file, wherein you are going to move the file or the source file name. That you will proceed to the destination file. So, there are also exceptions in moving a file. Condition. The destination file already exists. Our source file name is not found. Second, source file name or destination file name is nothing. Nothing in Visual Basic. Source file name or destination file name is a zero-length string, contains only white space, or contains invalid characters as defined in hyperlink. The caller does not have the required permission. The specified path, file name, or both exceed the system-defined maximum length. For example, on Windows-based platforms, paths must be less than 248 characters and file names must be less than 260 characters. The path specified in source file name or destination file name is invalid. For example, it is on an mapped drive. And the last, source file name or destination file name is in invalid format. These methods work across disk volumes, and it does not throw an exception if the source and destination are the same. Note that if you attempt to replace a file by moving a file on the same name into that directory, you get an hyperlink. You cannot use the move method to overwrite an existing file. The source file name and destination file name arguments are permitted to specify relative or absolute path information. Relative path information is interpreted as relative to the current working directory. To obtain the current working directory, see hyperlink. So a lot of hyperlinks are made if you make the whatever. If you commit a mistake in making the method. If you try to move a file across these volumes and that file is in use, the file is copied to the destination but not deleted from the source. So this is all about moving a file. So can't really state again because it's way too short. So let's move to the checking the existence of the file using exist method. So exist method determines whether the specified file exists. So it's very obvious from the word exists. So the parameters is the path. The path. The file to check. So it is only the file to check. It will return true if the caller has the required permission and the path contains the name of an existing file, otherwise false. This method also returns false if path is nothing, an invalid path, or a zero-length string. If the caller does not have sufficient permissions to read a specified file, no exception is shown, and the method returns false regardless of the existence of path. So the exist method should not be used for path validation. This method merely checks if the file specified in path exists. Passing an invalid path to exist returns false. Be aware that another process can potentially do something with a file in between the time you call the exist method and perform another operation on the file, such as hyperlink delete. The path parameter is permitted to specify relative or absolute path information. Relative path information is interpreted as relative to the current working directory. To obtain the current working directory, visit get current directory. If path describes a directory, this method returns false. Trailing spaces are removed from path parameter before determining if the file exists. The exist method returns false if any error occurs while trying to determine if the specified files exist. This can occur in situations that raise exceptions, such as passing a file name with invalid characters or too many characters, a failing or missing disk, or if the caller does not have permission to read the file. I can't really state the example due to it's way too long. So let's move on to the get attributes method. Get attributes method. So it's the file attributes of the file on the path. So the parameters of this is the path and the path to the file. So again, there are exceptions in using the get attributes. First condition, if the path is empty, contains only white spaces, or contains invalid characters. The second, the specified path, file name, or both exceed the system-defined maximum length. For example, on Windows-based platforms, paths must be less than 248 characters, and the file names must be less than 260 characters. Number 3, path is an invalid format. Number 4, path represents a file and is invalid, such as being in a mapped drive, or the file cannot be found. The 5th, path represents a directory and is invalid, such as being in a map drive a directory cannot be found. The sixth, this file is being used by another process. The seventh, and the last, the caller does not have the required permission. The path parameter is permitted to specify relative or absolute path information. So again, to obtain the current working directory, see get current directory. Let's proceed to the System I/O File Info class. The File Info class provides instance methods for the creation, copying, deletion, moving, and opening of files, and aids in the creation of hyperlink file stream objects. This class cannot be inherited. Inheritance hierarchy. So there are constructors in using the I/O file info class. When it is called by hyperlink trusted applications, it initializes a new instance of the file info class, which acts as a wrapper for a file path. Next, when called by hyperlink trusted applications, it gets or sets the hyperlink file attributes of the current file system info. The next, when called by trusted applications, it gets or sets the creation time of the current file system info object. When it is called by trusted application, it gets an instance of the parent directory. Next, when it is called by trusted applications, it gets a string representing the directory's full path. Gets a value indicating whether a file exists. Overrides. Next, it gets the string representing the extension part of the file, inherited from file system info. When called by trusted applications, it gets the full path of the directory or file, inherited from file system info. When called by trusted applications, it gets or sets the time the current file or directory was last accessed, or the file system info. Next, when called by trusted applications, it gets or sets the time that when the current file or directory was last written to, inherited from file system info. It gets the size in bytes of the current file. That's the length. Next, wait. And the last one, it gets the name of the file. It overrides the file system info name. That's the name. Methods. So I think that's the end of my report. So if you have questions,